Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real the Core. I'm your host, Jackson. It's wonderful to be here. We're joined here today by Nick Gofas.
Hello.
And Reece. What's up, man?
Hey, nothing. How y'all doing?
I'm swell. I just started up school again the other day, so I'm still kind of getting into the groove of things. But yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk about some movies for a little bit. It's gonna be fun. So today, obviously, the main point of discussion will be Alien Romulus. We're going to be talking about it, all sorts of spoiler details. So if you haven't seen it, you're going to probably want to tap out before we get to that part. We'll make sure to give you guys a warning before we get there. Before we do that, there's two little pieces of news I wanted to go over and just discuss with you guys. The first of which is the Acolyte was officially canceled on Disney Plus. It's not coming back for a second season. Did either of you watch that show?
No.
I did not.
Okay, so I'm the only one here who's seen it.
I know Yoda showed up at the end.
Yoda is in for one shot, literally the last shot of the show. Which it was very obvious bait to get a second season. It wasn't out of place. It made sense for him to be there, just because it involves the Jedi so much. But it was very clearly season 2 bait. So it is a little funny that didn't work. I can't lie. Yeah, I don't know. I have complicated feelings on this because I didn't love the show, but it was also to me more interesting than a lot of stuff we get because it was at least trying to do something new, which is what I want. It wasn't just doing the same old bullshit again like a lot of these shows feel like they've been doing.
Well, because it's Star Wars, you can't do anything new, or else the fans will hate you, and that's why we get more. That's why we're getting more Dave Filoni stuff.
Well, that's exactly it. It's what are we gonna get instead of this?
Mandalorian and Grogu, though, I'll be there day one. I'll be seated.
And another thing for me is you look at a lot of Rebels in Clone Wars in particular did not have great first seasons, and those two shows produced some of the best stuff in Star Wars. So it's it's kind of indicative of a larger problem within streaming that a lot of shows aren't really given time to fully evolve. It's if we're gonna dump $300 million into the show. If it doesn't perform exactly how we want it to, we're pulling the fucking plug on it. And I think that's a problem because I think we're very much missing out on a lot of good TV due to that,
Yeah, I don't think the show really had an opportunity to breathe. I think it was just bogged down by people involving politics into it and just getting mad.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week too, Reece, about how a lot of those people are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And they just don't understand what they're watching half the time. And I also think there's a lot of people have been saying this was just done to appease those people. And, it might be easy to write that off and be like, oh, those toxic Star Wars fans are only a small minority of the community. But to me, what fascinates me and what kind of makes me give that more merit than I would otherwise is that the Book of Boba Fett never got canceled, right? They never said, oh, we're never doing a season 2 of this. They just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And same for Kenobi, right? They never came out and officially said those shows were canceled. They just never made another season. And I think it's kind of interesting that for the Acolyte, they came out and were like, nah, we're pulling the plug on this, this is done. That doesn't totally sit right with me. It just feels a little strange.
It's almost like they're trying to just let everybody know, oh, we realized we messed up, we went woke, sorry. It seems like they're actually catering to those people.
And that's the thing. It's I thought Disney was past the point where they refused to stick to their guns. Because, you look at, Last Jedi. They did not stick to their guns on that. People got mad, and then they fucking flipped the script in Rise of Skywalker. And they did the same goddamn shit with Solo. It was Solo, and this was their own fault, Solo didn't perform as well as they wanted it to, so they completely reevaluated everything.
Yeah.
They just do not run this franchise with confidence at all. In the slightest. Nothing.
Yeah. Seems like they're making it up as they go.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even that. It's just they're so fucking reactionary. It reminds me of like DC, like right after BVS. It reminds me of how DC was, where they were just like so fucking scared of everything Snyder did, and it's like it's the same shit here, man. Because it's like I don't care if some stories are bad. Just give me something new. I will be much easier on a mid show that's ambitious and swinging for something greater than just member berries than I will a show that's just a fucking cameo fest, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing that pisses me off is like people got so mad at the show that they're canceling is kind of saying like, oh yeah, you win, you know?
I did see on Twitter a lot of geeks and gamers type of people were like doing a victory lap, which I thought was very
Yeah,
stupid because
it's
it's like
crazy.
put all the bullshit aside. In what world are you celebrating the cancellation of just anything that is
It's people's
just
livelihoods. Like people,
yeah, like
hundreds of people are employed by this show.
No, absolutely.
that's why I do find it very weird that people are doing like a victory lap over this.
Yeah.
Cuz it's like all again, bullshit aside, it is like for the Star Wars product in general, this is probably the worst thing that could happen because now all it is, it's just telling Disney, hey, just keep doing the Dave Filoni stuff, keep doing like these action figures bashing
Yeah.
into each other, keep doing this stuff.
Yeah, I hope that's not what they take away from it. I really hope that's not what they take away from it.
It is. It is what they're gonna take away from it.
No, it is, because Acolyte is really the only show that we've gotten that was rooted in new characters. And Andor was kind of mostly, but, you know, Cassian was from Rogue One, Mon Mothma was from... But, like, the main characters of Acolyte were all new, with the exception of, like, one character who was from a book. So I think throughout the course of the show, if I'm recalling it correctly, four. There were only four characters from pre-established lore that show up, and two of them don't even have fucking lines. Like, it's kind of sad to me that the first show that like was really standing on its own. And look, I don't think it was a great show. If someone walked away from it and said that was bad, I wouldn't really blame them. But it's kind of annoying to me because we've gotten so much worse. You know, we've gotten so much worse in the past couple of years. Like, this show at least had a soul. Because, like, Kenobi, that's like the bottom of the barrel for me, man. That show is so fucking... I don't like ragging on the work of, you know, filmmakers who were really passionate about their stuff, but I'm like, Kenobi is a fucking corporate product. That's what it feels like to me. And I know there are a lot of talented people who worked on that show, but none of it shows. It's soulless, man. That show is fucking soulless.
It doesn't matter if you have talent if the talent is just being thrown at absolutely nothing.
Basically, yes. And that is a show that just genuinely feels like there is no life behind it. And Acolyte, for all of its flaws, doesn't feel that way. I don't know, man. It just really... The entire... Like, the discourse on Star Wars in general has not been this unbearable since The Last Jedi. It's just been so fucking annoying.
Yeah, and like these people, they keep winning. Like they.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's genuinely kind. I shouldn't be saying this, but like we're very lucky to even be getting a season 2 of Andor. I feel like at least as quick as we are.
I think it's because Andor was very low budget, so Disney wasn't taking.
It wasn't
much
though.
Of it.
Andor was more expensive per episode than I think any other Star Wars show.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. No, it's not a cheap show.
And I also think it was because critical praise, and this was like really the first Star Wars thing, I would say, in a very long time to have this much critical praise. Aside from like the fans,
for sure.
Like, the critics also like really loved it, and it got it got nominated for Emmys, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's why Disney was like, all right, we'll just keep doing this because it's different enough, but it's not too different to alienate the fan base. If you like kind of understand what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But also, I think, from what I understand, they had greenlit it before season 1. Honestly, I've seen people on Twitter talk about this, but to me, it just genuinely seems like Tony Gilroy had like some sort of upper hand when he was negotiating a contract to do the show.
Well, also that's what happens when you have a real filmmaker pitching a show, and that they do
Yeah.
have the upper hand.
And to be fair, Leslie Headland, who was the showrunner for Acolyte, like she is very much a veteran in the film industry, but obviously not in the level Tony Gilroy is. But yeah, I don't know. It's sad. I do wish this show got better, even if I didn't love it. And it's like I'm not. The weird thing is, it's like I'm not even losing sleep over not seeing another season of the show. That's not really what bothers me. It's more just the message behind it, right? That's kind of the bit that's getting under my skin. But yeah. All right. So we're gonna move on. Okay, this one's an interesting one. So X-Men '97 obviously is Marvel Studios' most recent animated show. It's a revival of the X-Men cartoon from the '90s.
It's really good.
I haven't. It's really Nick, have you seen it?
No, I haven't watched X-Men.
Okay, I haven't either. But what we're talking about today is so before the show came out, the showrunner Beau DeMayo was fired from the series. A reason was not given why he was fired. He did not come to the premiere. He did not. He was not like he. Basically, after he was fired, Marvel and the entire cast and crew of X-Men '97 just kind of pretended like he didn't exist and that he never did exist. It was just very fascinating because I had never really seen anything like this where a creator was fired and just kind of like no explanation was given. If I'm not mistaken, this happened in between, like this happened since we last did a podcast, right?
I think the day we put that out is the day that everything kind of...
I think you're right. Yeah. So, yeah, he had been very active on social media during the releasing of X-Men.
Yeah, he was very vocal about his involvement, which is very funny considering like he should have known he was walking on eggshells.
Mm-hmm.
He was very vocal, but he was also very vague.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. I was going to bring that up. It did kind of feel like he was being... Because he, much like the cast just didn't acknowledge him, he did not really say anything about his time on the show. Like, from a production standpoint, he mostly talked about just creative decisions, which always felt weird to me, right?
Yeah.
So, he kind of kept running his mouth, and last week, the week before that, rather, he was kind of starting to talk a little bit more shit on Twitter specifically. And I don't remember what day it was last week, but he made a post basically saying that, and it was a really vague post that didn't really detail anything. He said that Marvel removed his writing credits for season 2 because he posted like shirtless fan art of himself in like a Cyclops costume during Pride Month. Which, I mean, I'll just ask you guys, like, what were your reactions when you saw that post?
When I first saw the post, I was like, "Oh shit, this is like actually something serious. This is like something that obviously Disney is gonna want to keep quiet on." And like I think reading that, I was like, okay, Disney needs to put something out right now.
And they did. So, to break down the order of events, Variety dropped an article where they talked to someone from Disney. It wasn't listed who, but they said a spokesperson for Disney, which is just, a short way of saying it's the Disney legal department. They said that they launched an investigation against him, and they fired him after they had egregious findings. And basically what they said was that after he was fired, they basically, when they parted ways, they made an agreement and they said, look, we will be quiet if you be quiet. And then they left that at that.
And it seems like they also had some sort of agreement in there where he could talk about the show still on social media.
Well, no, I think they had a clause where he couldn't talk about it. Like, I think when they parted ways, part of the agreement was that he just would not talk about the show.
Okay, and you think he just kind of did it, but not to the degree that it breached the contract?
Well, I think that him consistently posting about it, and then I think that picture, the Cyclops picture, was probably like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Because he had been tweeting about it for months and months and months and months.
Yeah. I'm also willing to believe though that he perceived that post is why his writing credits were removed, but that is not really it at all, and maybe they were planning that from the beginning, just based on like how he has characterized himself in recent events. I'd be willing to believe he's.
I actually, you're right. I don't doubt that he believed that, but also I think he's just a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. He's a fucking idiot for making that post. Like, the post calling out Disney.
I mean, if you do something stupid and you get lucky enough that, like, you don't get outed for it as a public figure, that is when you shut the fuck up. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
And don't say, especially when he apparently had some, like, shit going on when he was working on The Witcher. Like, dude, you've already been through this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of baffling to me that, like, that's a fight he thought he could win. You're going up against one of the biggest corporations in the entire fucking world. They will, like, kill you. You know?
Disney will kill you and they won't let you sue them.
Yeah, because you have Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to watch one episode of Daredevil.
But, yeah, so in the Variety article, they also say at the end that sources say that it was related to sexual misconduct. And then a couple hours later, Jeff Snyder comes out and, you know, because before that article came out, like, the scoopers were doing that bullshit that they usually do. That's so fucking annoying, where they're like, oh, you know, I hope they don't drop what he actually did for his sake. And they're just being, like, so fucking vague about everything. And it's like, dude, this is not like a fucking cameo in a movie, right? This is, like, serious shit. So if you know what happened, say what fucking happened, or just don't say anything at all.
It's like when Daniel RPK posts like big news coming tomorrow and then just never posts anything. I love that though.
So Jeff Snyder posted an article, which I should mention this. The article is behind a paywall, which is also just like very morally questionable in my opinion. I understand that journalism, you need to make money off of it, but like, again, when it's something like this, I feel like this is just information that should be readily available to the public. I just don't agree with putting that behind a paywall. Anyways, he reported that basically what had happened was Beau DeMayo was sending revealing pictures of himself to his crew to use as, quote, inspiration for the show. And also that he was, like, grooming multiple of his, like, workers, people that worked on the show, which is just terrible. That's nasty shit, right?
Wasn't there also allegations that he was groping, like, intern or something, and that he was... I heard emotionally abusive in there as well, but they didn't elaborate on that.
Yeah, that wasn't there.
Yeah, this stuff's scary, especially... You guys haven't seen the show, but there's a lot of, like, sexual poses in the animation, especially with, like... I think there's 2 scenes where, like, Magneto is, like, stripped down to his underwear and strapped up to something, so it's like... Were those the Beau DeMayo pics that they used as a reference for that part?
Oh, jeez.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so what's going to follow now is probably going to be a really fucking nasty court battle. And I'm going to be very curious to see how that goes down. I'm going to get, like, if Disney had the fucking balls to come out and just put that in that variety. I mean, granted, they didn't make an official statement. It was Variety saying they had a source and whatever.
You theorized was going to happen, by the way, last week.
Huh?
No, you theorized last week that that's what they were going to do.
Did I really? That's funny.
Go back and listen to the part where you talked about that. You predicted, like, pretty much everything that happened. It was pretty crazy.
That's so funny. You're right. I actually do remember talking about that. But I'm going to guess if Disney had the balls to, like, again, come out and put that in that Variety article, then they have the fucking receipts to back it up. I'm going to guess that they have a lot of goddamn dirt on this dude, and I'm going to guess a lot of that is going to become very public during this court battle. Because since then, Beau has lawyered up, and, like, that lawyer has made a couple statements, all of which are very funny.
Is it just the same, like, saying a bunch of words that say nothing shit?
Yeah, basically. It's that, where it's just yapping. Someone said he's got a Temu lawyer. But, yeah, any closing thoughts?
Kids, don't be weird.
Don't be weird.
Don't be weird. Thank you, Nick Gofas.
Stay in school.
Reece, what do you got?
Yeah, the one thing that's like, I don't know how I feel about Disney. It seemed like they were gonna just sweep this under the rug. That rubs me the wrong way. Like, I feel like they have a social responsibility to anybody who might work with Beau in the future. Cause like, okay, imagine he had never talked shit. He probably just would have gotten another gig. Like, this show was really fucking.
Oh, he would have, absolutely.
So like, they have the responsibility to share that information so people know, and like they can prevent crimes from happening.
Well, so what's interesting is I don't know why I did this to myself, but I watched John Campea cover this story.
I like.
And I don't really watch him much. I think he's just silly. He's a very silly guy. And
I love him.
An unserious man from time to time. And I found his take on... I've watched Campea for years. I should note that. It's like... I just think he's a bit of a fucking... He falls like into a similar camp as Grace Randolph for me. Where I just think they're both deeply unserious people.
You guys want to know something? This is such a tangent, but I used to get Grace Randolph and Candace Owens mixed up.
How the fuck?
You know what? I'm not even gonna question that. I don't even know how. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like I honestly got, like, I would make fun of you, but I got nothing because that just makes so little goddamn sense.
Can you imagine Grace Randolph at the RNC though, like getting up there and doing a speech?
Well. If it isn't Donald Trump. That's my impression of Grace Randolph.
Grace Randolph goes up at the RNC, starts talking shit about Joe Biden, but then it somehow turns into a tangent about like Zack Snyder.
Yo, no, it's just a fucking tangent about how much she hates Jessica Chastain. You know, it's like, where does Grace Randolph stand on trickle down economics? Actually, what is she like? Is she registered to anything? Like, she's just like one of those people where it's hard to imagine them having a political opinion on anything.
Like, can you imagine like Jeremy Johns?
I feel like Jeremy Johns is like one bad day, like just one really fucking bad day away from becoming a right-wing grifter. Like, I feel like he is just... I have nothing, like, there's nothing he said to make me feel this way. It's just vibes. I just feel like he's one bad day away from becoming like a fucking critical drinker type. I'm curious. One day something will break him. You know, it's just he's gonna watch a movie and
it's gonna be too woke.
The whole fucking like House of Cards is gonna fall down. It's gonna be too woke. Exactly.
Sound of Freedom is awesome-tacular, and then he does the stupid fucking graphic.
Did he review that movie? Hold on, I'm gonna scroll to the end of this. Yeah.
It emotionally sticks with you, and I'm glad I watched it. No alcohol required.
Okay, good time. No alcohol required.
Alcohol required. All right, good.
All right, well, maybe he's safe for now.
Count your days, Jeremy Johns.
Count your days, Jeremy Johns. I gotta keep a close eye on Jeremy Johns, just to make sure he doesn't say anything, or else I'm gonna have to go after him on Twitter. All right, so we're gonna move on, and we're gonna talk about Alien Romulus. So if you have not seen it, now's the time to go see it and come back. So because we're just probably gonna say fuck it and just talk about spoilers. All right, so we're gonna kick things off. I just want to hear what Alien movies you guys have seen. So Nick, what have you seen in the franchise?
I've seen the first one, and that's it.
Okay, so you've only seen one. Reece, what about you?
I have seen all of them a lot of times. I really fucking like Alien.
Okay, so you're a really big Alien.
Oh, wait, no, actually, no. I've seen like the third act of Aliens, but it was on mute because I was at a restaurant.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Okay.
All right. Well then, Reece, I'm gonna have you start off by just telling us, like, what were you expecting going into Romulus, and also can you just kind of summarize your feelings on the movies that came before it? So just kind of give us like a brief overview of how you feel about each Alien movie.
So, Alien is the first one is one of my favorite movies like ever made. I also think Aliens is very fucking good. Alien 3, horrible plot, but still has some like very memorable cinematography in it. Alien Resurrection is one of the worst movies ever made, and then we don't talk about Alien versus Predator. So yeah, I like these movies. Oh, and then I guess I forgot the prequels. Those are whatever. I don't care about those. So going into this movie, like I saw the trailer, which I don't really think showed much.
Yeah.
It felt like they were trying to hold back a lot of the bigger reveals, which I like, and a lot of studios have been doing kind of the opposite recently. So that was refreshing, but as a result, I just didn't have a lot of expectations for this going in. I knew Fede Alvarez was behind it, and I really liked Don't Breathe, and especially his Evil Dead remake. I thought was really fucking crazy and gory and funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, saying all that to say, like, I really had no idea what this was gonna be going into it, and I sat down in the theater, the lights dimmed, the movie started playing, and I saw that they were recreating the stop motion effects from the first movie, and I just started losing my fucking mind. And I kind of went through the entire, like, 5 stages of grief after that during this, of just, like, watching it fall apart in front of my eye. Like, taking so many good concepts and just not delivering anything, like, meaningful. And what's weird is the biggest complaint I have seen people making about this movie is, like, oh, it's a 2-hour fan service movie. It's just, like, rehashing what we already did. And, like, I don't know. That is not the element that left me the most confused with this. Like, I think there are a lot of really weird choices that kind of baffled me. Can we start off talking about the CGI Ian Holm?
Hated it.
I've seen a lot of bad effects in movies, but there are very few where I'm embarrassed for the filmmakers that
it looked worse than Rogue One.
It did. And
here's the thing. So, all right, I'm going to give you a bit of background. I watched the first 2 Alien movies like over 5 years ago. It's been a long time. And in preparation for this, I watched Prometheus and Covenant. So those are the only 4 I've seen. I don't understand, and you can probably explain this to me, why the fuck did they use that character? They could have been a new character, or it could have been Fassbender's character from...
Yeah. Do you want me to rant about that?
The prequels. Yeah, go for it. I'm confused as fuck. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's not supposed to be actually Ash from the first Alien. It's a different model, right? Called Rook.
It is?
Yeah. They didn't explain that very well in the movie. So Ash in the first Alien it's obviously modeled based off the same guy.
Yeah.
It isn't the same synthetic from Alien. So yeah, it didn't have to be Ian Holm. And this is the thing, they have a living actor who played another synthetic in Aliens that they could have brought back for this movie. And, like, in Alien 3, that character, Bishop, dies off screen, and they do an effect where there's, like, a mangled version of his corpse that Ripley finds, and that effect in 1992 looked better than this fucking movie.
Well, it's also baffling to me because it's like the movie is so based in practical effects and all of it looks fucking fantastic. So to see this, it's crazy to see this PS2 character walking around these beautiful, elaborate, like lived in practical sets. It's terrible, man.
Yeah. And like Fede Alvarez confirmed that they did build an animatronic for this effect. So, and you can see in some of the wide shots.
I saw that
it's an animatronic without effects.
You can tell.
Which is even more jarring.
That threw me off.
But it looks like they just put a Snapchat, like one of those filters that will turn you into Travis Scott or whatever, on the fucking animatronic, and that's literally all they did to it. And they use it for so long in the movie. I was thinking, like, okay, this might be fine if it's in one scene.
Yeah.
It's in, like...
He kept showing up. That's a bit that surprised me. Because, like, I heard people complaining. It was like, oh, no, there's a CGI resurrection. I was like, all right, well, this is probably, like, one fucking scene or something. No, it was like... He kept showing up. It was not a cameo. Like, that was a legitimate, like, supporting character in the film.
That, and just, like, you mentioned, like, they really did do a great job with the practical effects. Whenever there is a CGI element that shows up, it just makes it so much more noticeable.
Well, even, like, there's a bit near the end where she is, like, hanging outside of the ship and being reeled back in. That looked fucking phenomenal.
Everything outside the ships looks great. It's, like... the CGI blood for no reason. The CGI like smoke. Why can't we just use fog machines in fucking movies? Why does every?
I didn't notice that, and I usually do notice.
I saw this in glorious IMAX, so that might be why.
Really? Well, I saw it in Dolby. I clock. That is one of my. All right, side tangent. Like CGI fire and smoke. There's very little I hate more than that because they never get it right, and it's always so fucking distracting. Like there's a bit in one of the worst examples, and I love this movie dearly. So I don't. My feelings on this are not indicative of my feelings on the movie, but in Glass Onion, there's some fucking terrible CGI fire in the third act of that movie.
All the effects in that movie looked really bad. Like almost like you were having an acid trip and you imagined that movie.
A lot of the CG in that movie wasn't good. Which it didn't bother me. There was so little of it.
It's just the third act, like you said, where his mansion's like burning down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, dude. Like the part where she's, turns on the 0G and fucking shoots the aliens, and it's like,
ooh, I thought that looked good.
I don't know. It might have.
Did you not think
IMAX.
That looked good?
Like everything.
Gofas, where do you stand on that scene?
I thought they could have done a lot more with it.
Really? I thought that scene was kind of sick.
Because there was a lot of 0G scenes, which is like
the last one where she's just like fucking mowing down the xenomorphs.
Okay, I thought that was sick.
Yeah, I love that. That was one of my favorite because that's when like the movie kicked into another gear for me.
I like locked in.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Those last like 45 minutes from that scene up until the end is like
the best part.
I was
for sure.
floating. I was floating in the theater.
That was awesome. That was so good. Yeah, and I also thought the VFX were really impressive in that scene. I would actually.
I thought the xenomorph looked fucking sick.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about the pacing of this movie? Because I found it like, I think the first Alien and Aliens are some of the best paced films ever made.
I would agree.
And
with
like
that.
every
especially
attempt
in its genre.
Every attempt to bring this franchise back, they've kind of like lost what worked about the pacing. Where the first Alien film, the xenomorph has less than 4 minutes of screen time. It shows up like an hour and a half in the movie. Everything before that is just build up. And then once it gets going, it doesn't fucking stop. That's the part where I think Romulus did not do a good job. Like I felt like they would build to a really awesome set piece, like the having to go through the heat room without sweating for the face hugger, like.
Yeah,
and then
cool.
It would just completely fucking slow down. Like I don't think it kept a solid pace in that half of the movie.
Interesting.
I felt like once they got off the the mining planet, I feel like once they got to the actual ship, it like flew by.
I was gonna say, if anything, it kind of got going quicker than and maybe that's and I will say, granted, I had just come off Prometheus and Covenant. But this movie kind of got going a lot quicker than I was expecting it to. Like the first facehugger scene happened a lot earlier on than I was thinking it was going to,
I could see that, yeah. I don't know what it was. Like I think I didn't love the edit. I thought the way they set up like certain character dynamics or just like explaining information to the audience, which is like done a lot through the robot character Andy. And it works because like it makes sense that he would be over explaining shit to them, but like it just feels like so obvious what they're setting up, And I think the edit was just awkward, like the way they cut to scenes like that, where it's just like we show you something that is going to be important later, just like throw it in there, who cares, and then move on.
Yeah, it's jumping off of that point. I definitely feel like they could have done the Are we getting into spoilers now?
Yeah.
We already just spoiled the whole fucking thing pretty much.
The whole movie.
I feel like they should have cut out that scene where Kaylee Spaney is talking to the girl and like they say that she's pregnant. I feel like you could have taken out that scene and have the big reveal during when they're trying to get her out of the room.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
I feel like it would have hit a lot more if they reveal it during that part.
Speaking of that, what did you guys think of the engineer xenomorph hybrid fucking thing at the end of this?
I thought that thing was I thought it was so cool, and the actor that played it is like this 7'7" like European basketball player Dude, when I found that out, because I've known about that kid for years, because I've watched like his highlights, and like
That'd be really,
when I
that's
saw that,
hilarious.
I was like, no shot. I
Did
really
you
hope that
recognize
kid,
him in the movie?
no, because I mean, again, it was like dark, and you really didn't see his face
Yeah,
that
yeah.
much, and he's covered in prosthetics. But when I saw it on like Instagram the other day, and I was like, no way. I thought it was so sick. I thought the monster
That's
looked
funny
so
as fuck.
cool.
Looked incredible.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie, and I try to be as respectful as I can in movie theaters, especially I saw this opening day. I could not stop myself from fucking laughing when I saw that when they first revealed that.
Really?
I hate this design. And what's insane to me is like they made the xenomorphs in this movie scary, which is something that I don't think they have done since Aliens. So like when that was the final fucking boss that she had to fight, and it's like this stupid like homunculus version of a fucking xenomorph, I did chuckle, and it was involuntary, and I feel actually really bad about it. But
I thought it looked creepy. That's fascinating. I really fucked with it. I thought it was an ambitious design, and I thought it was executed really well.
I also want to add as a little anecdote. I watched this movie with Aiden Stallings, and when that monster showed up, we both like looked at each other and like holy shit.
Yeah.
Also, the part where Kaylee Spaney and they're trying to get I what is her name? I feel bad just calling her the girl.
Oh, the girl that's playing Hot Girl?
Isabel Marcet or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Isabella Merced. Okay, when they're getting her out of the room, and Kaylee Spaney screams out like no, she's pregnant. Like we can't leave her in there. Some dude in like the back of the theater started bursting out laughing.
That's crazy.
And I started laughing because it was just so out of nowhere. And like, why are you laughing at this scene? And then everyone started looking at me. Everyone started looking at me like I was like a
you were an
weirdo.
asshole.
They're like, "Oh, why are you laughing?"
It's like when the teacher yells at you for something your friend did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you look over at your friend and he's making a stupid face.
That's a good anecdote.
But yeah, that is. Before I gotta give a quick side tangent and a shout out to I hope I am saying his name right. Galo Oliveras, the cinematographer for this movie.
Oh, this movie looks amazing.
Killed it. This movie looked beautiful. And it's rare. You see a lot of Hollywood movies that try to like recapture the look of the original. It feels like they modernized the look of the first Alien movie here without even fucking trying. It was so effortless.
When I saw Force Awakens for the first time, I thought this is the closest we'll ever get to recreating like 80s stop motion spaceship effects until I saw this fucking movie. The effects in this are like some of the best stuff I've seen recently. Everything with the spaceships and outside in space looks fucking good.
Dude, it is insane how good. I didn't expect this based off the trailers. But like when that oneer at the start and just the fucking like production design, the lighting, and just how seamlessly, like I couldn't tell you where the CG began and the practical effects ended. Like it was that seamless in that, like that just dystopian city. It looked stunning. And just the lighting throughout the entire film was just on point. It was really nice to see a movie like this put so much care and love into how it's shot. It also just pushed back against a lot of like the trends and tropes we've had in modern blockbusters recently. It was nice to see something kind of we've had like Dune took a very different approach, and this also took a very different approach, and it was really cool to see. I really everybody that was responsible for how this movie looked, like Fede Alvarez, the DP, the production design team, the VFX artists, they all knocked it out of the park. And all the people who did like makeup and costumes, it's like everybody on that side of things was firing on like all cylinders. It was crazy.
And the attention to detail to like making, because this is a Wayland Corp ship, there are like some of the same exact signals from the first movies and like some of the same writing, and everything is accurate. And like they pretty much nailed the canon. Fede Alvarez pitched this movie to Ridley Scott himself, so there's a lot of like attention to continuity that I really liked.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I don't remember the first two Alien movies all that well. So it is interesting to hear you talk about just the movie on a continuity level, you know? That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and it kind of ties together, because we never got, like, the third movie. We got Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and then there's going to be a third one. Like, Jackson, you said you rewatched Covenant, so you remember, like, it has, like, an open ending.
No, I just saw it for the first time.
Yeah, okay. Do you remember the ending? It's easy to forget.
Yeah.
Those movies are so fucking forgettable, but,
Okay, I'm going to push back. I loved Prometheus. I fucking loved it. I watched that movie without really hearing anybody ever talk about it, besides my dad. And so I just kind of went in very blind. I didn't really know anything about it. And I was, like, really engaged by it. I thought it was a really ambitious and cool movie. I really fucked with it. We also used to put Idris Elba in movies, and we don't really do that as much as we should anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing, is, like, they had Idris Elba, they had Charlize Theron in that movie, and I just cannot remember one fucking character or one interesting.
David is such a cool character. He's one of my favorite characters out of the franchise, and Michael Fassbender's so good. Anyways, all that to say is, like, I actually watched Covenant the same day I saw Romulus, and I watched Prometheus for the first time the night before. So, like, I was coming really fresh off of those movies. And when they played the main theme from Prometheus in Romulus, that made me happy. I fucking loved that theme.
They played that and one of the, like, classical pieces that is sampled in the Covenant score played as well. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that.
If I want to invest myself into the Alien lore, what is the best order? Do I watch it in, like, the release order, or should I watch, like, because I've seen a lot of Alien discourse on Twitter, and it's
like, worth watching.
Like, people are posting clips from Prometheus, and I'm like, damn, this looks so sick. And I love, like,
it is.
The sort of, like, subtext that I'm getting from it, from watching clips of, like religious subtext and like creation, and I love that stuff about, like, any.
No, then you'll like it. You'll really like Prometheus then.
All right, I gotta watch Prometheus.
Yeah, Gofas. I text me when you watch this. I'd be curious to see what you think of them.
All right, I'm definitely gonna watch Prometheus and Covenant. I'll do a double feature.
And there is, like, I will say, if you watch those movies, there is a payoff in Romulus to having seen those.
No, there's a. I was happy I watched it because they do reference. There are quite a few references to Prometheus in particular, even beyond the musical cue. But also, okay, Reece, I want to pick your brain on something.
Yeah.
So there's a TV show coming out called Alien Earth, and before the events of Covenant and Prometheus, there are no xenomorphs. They are just not a thing yet. So Reece, tell me how the actual fuck they're making a TV show set on Earth that features xenomorphs.
Romulus kind of confirms that at least Weyland knew about it, but there's obvious reasons why they would cover that up. That makes sense. If that's what they do in Alien Earth, maybe center it around Weyland. That'd be kind of interesting and cool, and you can play into the themes of, like, corporate malfeasance and whatnot. But
would you like to know my problem with everything you just said?
Yes. I'd love to.
The showrunner of Alien Earth basically just said they're gonna fucking ignore Prometheus. Or said that, and I quote, "We're not gonna lean too hard into that."
But they can't.
And that's the part that confuses me.
Yeah, Romulus just gave us hard confirmations that, like, that continuity is still canon. So that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I that's why I was curious to get your take on that, because it's like, coming off a movie that very much respects the lore of Covenant and Prometheus, why the fuck would you backtrack like that?
Like, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying they actually care about that, which I don't think they do. The only way that works, though, really, is if it's, like, some sort of small-scale event where xenomorphs maybe invade one town and, like, the government covered it up. That's the only way that works. Because they can have existed before Alien. That's possible.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating. Also, another thing I wanted to ask you about is, obviously in Prometheus and Covenant, the technology is, like, way more advanced, right?
You want to know the explanation?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to pick your brains about that as well.
So,
and just kind of hear why you think that.
I believe it was Ridley Scott himself or somebody who worked on these movies that actually gave us, like, a hard answer. basically Wayland, like the characters in the first Alien movie are not, high-ranking Wayland employees. They're like
No.
The idea is that the Prometheus crew and the Covenant crew were given better funding by Wayland, and that's why they have better technology.
That's okay. That makes sense because like those movies do have a more like upper class aesthetic.
Yeah.
Even in like specifically the opening of a Covenant, you see David playing on like a really brand new shiny looking piano and all that. All right, yeah, that makes sense to me. It's like I figured it was something like that, but I was just curious to get your take on it as well.
For what it's worth, I don't think they thought about it. I think somebody mentioned that and they scrambled to think of an explanation, but
that's probably very true. But it just so happens that also kind of works out perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and anyways, overall, I did enjoy Romulus. I liked the characters. I liked the setting. I liked the vibes. I had a good time. I don't know, man. I definitely hear everything you're saying, but it's like I just kind of walked away and I was like, yeah, that was fun. It was a good time. It was bloody. I will say my dad hates horror movies. He hates them. He will not watch them. But he's gonna watch this because it's an alien movie, and I think that's just gonna be really funny.
Yeah, this does go to some pretty extreme places, even though I wasn't super,
because it's directed like a horror movie.
Yeah. What did you think about the comedy? I thought some of the comedy writing was really obvious and bad.
Did that movie have jokes?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I think they're attempting. So like the line where Andy jumps down on the xenomorph and he says, "Get away from her, you bitch."
That was bad.
Now that is a reference to
I did not like
aliens.
that line.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I also think that was like intentionally supposed to be like a bad line.
Yeah, that didn't work for me. I did not mess with that. I liked Andy a lot though. He was an interesting take on a synthetic.
I liked that character dynamic between Kaylee Spaney and Andy was like probably the best bit of character writing in the movie.
I agree.
All the way up until they put the fucking rook chip in his head. And then it's just like all the momentum of that building that plot line up is just gone. I kind of felt like that was not a good payoff.
That's fair.
Because I think the problem was it's supposed to make us care about this character who has known these characters have again been together their entire lives. We're only knowing them for like 2 hours. So again, it's tough to convey that relationship, but I think the actors made it work well. But there were also
great
parts where I felt like Kaylee Spaney fucking hates this dude.
I didn't get that impression. I really thought they did a good job. I don't think the other characters in the movie were memorable, really, but that character dynamic was good. That's why it sucks when they just put a chip in fucking Andy and becomes effectively a different character.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Do we want to do some closing thoughts?
I really like this for my second Alien movie of the franchise that I've ever seen. I'm definitely a lot more interested in wanting to get into the lore and invest myself into this series because it is very interesting, and I really did like this movie because I did read something where it was like newer fans are definitely gonna love it while like older fans are probably not gonna like it as much. I know that was like what a lot of people were writing, or at least from what I saw. But yeah, I really like this. Yeah, I hope we get more Alien movies because I really liked this one. I was thinking, I hope what happens in the future and kind of like what they're doing with the Predator movies is they kind of every movie is just a different crew and like a different setting and just throwing the xenomorph in a different setting while having like some like overarching plot where it's not like really vital to the movie. But
and I like one more thing. Like I like the idea of just not completely ignoring the continuity of things that people think are bad. Like the Halloween movies, they've retconned the whole fucking universe like 3 times to just take out the bad movies, and it's like I don't know. I like in a series when they're willing to just like stick with the continuity, stick with what was already established. Don't just keep what you liked.
And low key, that is something I respect that Star Wars has kind of done consistently. And you can't bring up Legends. I know some of you are probably thinking that, but that doesn't fucking count. Yeah, like that's something I have respected about Star Wars as much as it frustrates me is like, as much as they might act like something doesn't exist, they don't really go out of their way to, well, with the exception of Rise of Skywalker, I guess. But yeah, overall, I kind of echo some of the sentiments of Gofas. I'm a very like casual Alien fan. I still haven't seen 2 of them. I'm not like a big lore junkie in terms of this, so I watched it and I had a good time. I'll definitely see it again.
Should we rate it?
Yeah, go for it.
This is the saddest ever 5 out of 10. I'm going to give something. Like I said in the beginning, I went through all 5 stages of grief with this movie. I had no expectations going in. I saw the effects. I saw what they were trying to do, recreating the original movie, and I kind of fell in love in a really unique way. And then just every narrative choice past like the first 30 minutes and past the setup just kind of killed my soul a little bit. And I'm really sad about this. I'm going to rewatch it. I might like it more. I might hate it more. I don't know. It's a very confusing movie.
Gofas.
This is gonna get a 8 out of 10 for me. I really had a great time watching this.
So 4 out of 5 booms on the boom meter.
4 out of 5. Do you want me to do it?
Do it. Let's do it.
Boom! 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 Boom!
Beautiful. 10 out of 10. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll, I don't know. I'm not really sure what we're going to cover next, but we will be back soon with something else for y'all.
Maybe Beau DeMayo will talk some more shit.
Yeah, deadass.
Next episode, we're going to do a recap of AEW All In, live from Wembley. We're going to do a live stream talking about...
Also, Gofas wants to launch a... you want to do a football podcast, right?
That was an idea that me, Mensch, and possibly Osmond were kicking around, and like every week we just kind of talk football.
I think that'd be fun.
I would want to gauge the the crowd interest on that.
Yeah, you might be attracting a different group.
Leave a comment if you would watch Gofas' football podcast. I know I would. I'm there day one.
I would.
Or if you would want to watch me and Adil talk about wrestling.
Oh, I love Adil. It'd be worth it just to hear Adil yap. I love that, man. But yeah, we'll be back soon with something else. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Peace out.